And I'm back from the dead, kind of. Been sick. You can probably hear a little congestion in my voice, but happy New Year and all of the rest of the stuff. Um, good health. Good health. It's a good reminder. I've always been conscious of good health and why it's important. But you really appreciate good health when you get sick, when you no longer have good health. So there's something that I always do when I get, really sick, right? When I'm definitely like more than a little sick. See, we take for granted. It's called hedonic adaptation. If you want the, exact terminology, it's called hedonic adaptation, which hedonism, feeling, you adapt to whatever your current state is. So if you feel terrible every day, after a month of feeling terrible, you just kind of feel normal, or it becomes a new normal. But the same is true with health and how you feel. If you just feel good every day, you take it for granted. And then sometimes you actually trick yourself into thinking you don't feel good. So you have good health and you're humming along, but I'm depressed, blah, blah, blah. I'm sad. I'm this, I'm that. And then you get sick and you're shivering, right? Got the chills or something. You go, oh man, I actually had great health I took for granted. That's true of so much in life. So what I do whenever I get sick, and then when I come out the other end of it, come back from the dead, so to speak, I express my gratitude to the universe. I literally close and I meditate on how good I feel, because what I'm doing is capturing that moment and that feeling. And then I can draw on that when I'm not feeling good. So what I do is I close my eyes and I meditate, and I just, because you feel good. You don't know how good you feel until you've been really sick. And I focus on it. I breathe it in. I get the energy, imagine the feeling, and I'm rewiring the circuitry in my brain as I'm doing this, pondering how good I feel, breathing it in and taking a new look at what you took for granted before you were sick. And then you capture that moment and you store that moment in your mind. And then a month or 2, 3 months later, if you're having a bad day, you're feeling down and out, you're getting your butt kicked by life or whatever, then you go, oh, no, I actually don't feel bad. This is an illusion, a trick being played on me. And then you return to that state you had earlier that you had stored in your mind. This is called state control. You can read about it, and there's an NLP book. I forget what it's called. I write about it in Gorilla Mindset. There's a lot of, you can probably read it on the internet. What you're doing is you're storing a state in your mind. You're, again, rewiring your mind. People go, oh, that, it just works. And the way I always tell it to people is I go, can you remember a bad memory in your past? And does it make you feel bad? Well, yes. Okay, then. If thinking about the past, a past memory, which is just neural circuitry and wiring, if thinking about a memory can make you feel bad, then why don't you create new positive memories, create repositories of experiences and feelings and sensations in your own mind, and then you return to those positive ones when maybe you're not feeling so good, or when maybe you want like a little boost, or maybe you do it every day. It absolutely 100% works. I mean, I'm living proof of that. I'm living proof of that. So this is, I mean, it's fundamentally is how I'm able to just keep going all the time. When you've seen a lot of people fall out, man. I'm not going to name any names. Definitely not going to name any names necessarily, but like I'm still around, man. I've been taking blows, dude. I have been just taking abuse, unfair attacks on my family, death threats to my family. You name it. I'm just deal with it every day. And yet somehow keep chugging along, keep making it happen. And people should maybe ask why that is, right? People should maybe say, well, why is it? Yeah, he's able to just take the attacks. So some people are going to say, oh, you look a little splot. Yeah, no kidding. I was just sick. I was under multiple blankets and pillows, shivering and everything else. So people are like, well, you're talking about feeling great, but your face is a little red right now. Yeah, yes, that's why I call this back from the dead. That's why it's called back from the dead. You can always, and by the way, I'm better looking at my worst than the haters are at their best. Imagine being a hater and you just see me looking like this when I'm sick. I definitely pity old haters, pity old haters. But you have to when you're in so there's multiple lessons here, right? One is you have to rewire your mind with peak performances and peak experiences so that you can turn to them to be used. People don't think about this often enough. Here's what I mean. Think of a time when you were triumphant, you felt great, you were like high on life, right? And you felt elated or something like that. Well, you can relive that feeling. You can get the serotonin, you can get the dopamine. You can create your own dopamine and serotonin. I've had, 3 p.m., 4 p.m. I haven't eaten anything, and 3:30, haven't eaten anything in 16, 17 hours. I still have great energy. Everything's cool. And you can dopamine is just chemicals that are released that make you feel good based on your subjective experience. And there's this like feedback loop where when you feel good, you get more feel-good feelings, feel-good chemicals. And when you don't feel good, you get fewer. What you're doing is creating that cosmic reaction within your own mind and getting your body to release endorphins, getting your body to release dopamine, getting your body to release serotonin by returning to triumphant, empowering experiences in your own mind. And then when you're living life, you have to store them. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a classic example of this. First of all, you have to have self-awareness to know that when you're in a peak experience, right? Which probably is the biggest problem people have, is they don't know what a peak experience is. But they're just like top 10 moments in your life. And when you feel a certain way, you have to pause, reflect, take a picture of that in your mind. I'll give you an example. I'll give you some examples. But here's what I do. When you're in a peak experience and you've come out of the flow experience, because when you're in flow, you don't know you're in flow and you can't capture the peak experience because that removes you from flow. And by the way, if you don't know what flow is, I'm sorry, I'm probably going a little bit too advanced for you. And that's fine. You have to pick up the pace. You have to pick up the pace. We're in historical times, and you have to decide if you want to be a historical figure or not. So if you're going, what? I don't know, write down flow experience. There's a whole book on it. There's a whole bunch of research on it. I don't have time to slow down for you. We're in historical times. You'll either be an historical figure or you won't be. But now is the time. Pick up the pace. So when you're in flow, you don't want to reflect on it because that'll remove you from the flow state. But as you're leaving flow and you're returning into kind of the normal world, you're from that peak, that 10 out of 10 experience, and then you're 9, 8, then you want to pause. I'll give you an example from my life. I'll give you several. One was the deplorable, two peak experiences happened. One was I saw Jeff Giese, he did all the hard work, actually. I just promoted a little bit. For the deplorable, we had people trying to murder us. There were hit lists going on saying, kill these people if you see them. 3 people pled guilty to domestic terrorism charges. They were going to put poisonous gas in the ventilation system to try to create a stampede of people. And then when everybody would have the poison gas coming from the ventilation, they were also going to pull the fire alarms. Everybody would freak out and rush to 2 doors. And if you've ever watched a soccer match or other thing, you know that gets people murdered. So there was an Antifa domestic terrorist assault. We got 3 people arrested because James O'Keefe thwarted the plot through his incredible journalism. So going into the whole thing, it was a disaster. First venue canceled. We had to sell tickets. Then it becomes the biggest inauguration event of the year. And then everybody's hassling me for tickets. And I'm running up and down the stairs because people got fake tickets. People can't get in. You name it. There was a problem like that. But I was just in flow. I was just moving, right? I didn't even know where I was. And then towards the end, I remember this. I always remember this. It's a very bro moment. I looked at Jeff and I said, okay, now we can have fun. Gave him a big hug. I said, we did it. Exact quote. I looked at him. I was like, we did it. I gave him a big hug. That was after it ended. I didn't have any fun during the deplorable. I always love when people come to my events like, you didn't have any fun. No, I put the events on for you. You have the amount of stress and the attacks and the death threats and the murder and the terrorism and everything that the far left does. I have to deal with all that so that you can have a good time. And people go, oh, Cernovich is on his phone. Yes, I'm talking to police, coordinating with the anti-terrorist segment, the NYPD, right? Sorry, bro, I'm not checking out the Instagram girls or whatever. So I looked at him and I just said, we did it, gave him a big hug. And then in my own mind, I said, this is a peak experience. Log it. Log this peak experience in your life, because moments like this don't happen all of the time. It's just true. But that's why it's a peak, right? It's like by definition, you every day can't be a peak. So I logged it. Where was I? What was I feeling? What was I wearing? What was my outfit? What was the environment? And then if I ever feel a little down or you need a little inspiration, I return to that in my mind, and then that creates a cascade of positive emotions. The same thing is true of drugs and other things. I don't advocate drugs. I don't advocate drugs, obviously, but I've done that with enhanced experiences with very pure MDMA. Again, I don't advocate drugs. I'm only sharing my own experience. And there's a point where I was on it. It was in a peak supraphysiological experience. And I logged it. So I can listen to certain music. That's what people go, why do you listen to? Well, first of all, house music is the best music to listen to, period. And if you're high IQ, you listen to house music and you listen to jazz. I logged it. And then when I listen to certain melodies, I can feel that cascade of serotonin. I can essentially be high, all because I know how to log these experiences, even when they're super physiological. Another one, so that was a deplorable. I logged it, because I just we won. We won. Feels good. So even when I'm not feeling so good, I can always return to that. It's been logged, and your body doesn't know the difference. Anyway, your body doesn't know that you're reliving an experience. It just knows that it's giving you a response to the way you feel and bumping up things. And then the second part was, and this was, to me, sort of a prophetic moment in my life. I'm not going to name who it was because I don't want to give attention to the person. But I was walking outside the press club. The deplorable was held at the press club. I'm walking with Jeff, and there's a whole media scrum right outside of the press club. And I'm walking in, and I go to Jeff. I go, oh, man, I got to get the hell out of here. I don't want to talk to the media. That's why I always laugh when people go, oh, Cernovich, you're desperate for media. You know how much media I've turned down in my life? I've turned down more media in my life than most celebrities will ever get in their lives. The press club got mad because we weren't giving out press passes at first. We weren't even going to give anybody media passes to Deplorable. So I walk out and I looked over and I saw someone who was a vulture that I didn't allow to attend the Deplorable because I knew who he'd ruin it, talking to the media. And I just laughed. And I thought, right now, this really is a prophetic, not prophetic, this is an iconic moment where you have a vulture who wasn't allowed at my party because he would ruin it, but he staked out the event just so he could get some media crumbs, get somebody to talk to him, put a microphone in his face. And then you had the winner just walking through the scrum, hoping nobody recognized me so that I could go to the cigar bar and have a cigar. And I thought, this is just going to be iconic in a way that if you were writing a story, you would say this is when people part. When one person is a loser and a vulture and will do anything for a media scrap. And then one person goes out on his own way and does his own thing. And then, of course, you can see how that has manifested itself, of course, throughout the years. That was 2 years ago. The poor ball, roughly 2 years ago. And then you can see how the various, paths have gone and how, my path has continued. So I logged that. So that's what you need to do is you need to log where you are. Log where you are. Program it in your own mind, and then you can return to that. You can return to that anytime. You can return to that. You can return to that if you're down. You can return to that if you're normal. You can return to that if you're up, because you're hacking your own physiology. People don't think about this enough. They just wake up, oh, I feel kind of depressed. Okay. You think I don't? The weight of the world on my shoulders? I've aged 10 years and 3. I go back and how I looked in 2015. I'm good looking still, don't get me wrong. But I was a hottie. I was like a 9. Now I'm like a 7.5. I would still be a 9 if I've never gotten into this terrible world and given so much of my life force to my country and my nation. I'd still be a 9, just living the dream. I'd be at the full moon party, dancing. I'd just having a lot of fun. But I still keep going because of the mindset techniques that work. You have to log it. So you have to know how to hack into your own physiology, make yourself feel. So when I wake up, oh God, not this again, right? The lies. Oh, they're doing that to me now. Just the stuff even that you see, as bad as it is, it's worse. The stuff I don't talk about because we're dealing with feds and everything else to get people in prison. So the worst of it you don't even see. The difference between me and most people is most people, they wake up, oh God, I'm in a bad mood. I feel bad. So I wake up and I go, oh man, I feel freaking terrible. What a horrible day. And I feel depressed. I don't wake up feeling happy. I wake up like, oh God, you just feel it, you slump and everything. But then I hack into my physiology. Okay, you got to do the body language poses. You got to do the meditation. You got to do the mantra. You got to do the Wim Hof cold breathing. You got to do the far infrared saunas. You got to do the nutrition. You got to have the green juice. You have to take the N-acetylcysteine to keep your body's anti-inflammatory processes, right? So I do all that. I just hack into it, and then you got to relive the positive experiences. And I physically just pump myself up. And then that doesn't get me to a 10, but it gets me to like a 7.5. So if I wake up a 3, then I feel like a 7.5. And then if I wake up a 7, I might feel like a 10, like a 10. And then you log, and then what happens? You create a feedback loop. You're creating a new feedback loop for your body. You feel good, and then you feel better, right? That's what nobody tells you. It's easier to feel better when you feel good. That, right? It's an MFer. So many things in life are like that, where it's easier to feel better when you already feel good. But if you feel bad, you have to feel good first. Most people, there's even a book called Feeling Good. I'm going to make sure I have write this down, write the books down. I'm not going to explain it. You have to read the books. You have to read the books yourself. You have to read Flow, and you have to read the book Feeling Good, The New Mood Therapy by David, by David D. Burns. So the book you got to read. You got to read Flow, and you got to read Feeling Good, The New Mood Therapy. So most people, if they feel bad, they don't know how to feel good. You got to feel good before you can feel like me. Before you can, just conquer things, you have to feel good. And then when you feel good, it's easy to feel better. You're resetting your baseline. So most people, they feel sick, they don't even know it. Their body's inflamed. They have nutritional deficiencies. They're not taking the fish oil. They're not taking magnesium. They're not taking the Epsom salt baths. They're not meditating. They're not doing binaural beats. They're not doing the training, the mindset training. They're not doing the brain warm-ups. They don't even realize they're sick. It's just, something's off, right? Like brain fog. People go have brain fog. Brain fog. It's like if you Google brain fog, there's like 1 billion results for it, because people just have a generalized sense of they don't feel good or they feel off. And that's because they haven't put in the work. They want to feel great, but you got to feel good first, because it's easier to feel better when you feel good. And you can't go from feeling bad to feeling better. You go from feeling bad to feeling good. And again, there's a book by it. So you got to start with the basics. Years long. You have to view yourself as a long-term investment. It isn't that, like, here, I'll give you an example. People feel bad. Some guy on Facebook goes, why did you block me on Twitter for talking about, and he's bringing up an unrelated thing. So I'm going to block you now because we're not talking about your pet project. And you probably don't have friends in your life because you don't have social awareness. So that would be another, right? The three categories of life. Generally speaking, family, friends, finances, or family, fitness, finances, family and friends, the 3 F's, right? By the way, this is also, if you ever want to improve your own life, this is what you look at. Either your finances aren't right, your family and friends aren't right, or your fitness isn't right. And I can analyze and tell people right away where their life is broken. For example, if some guy is watching a Periscope where I'm talking about a specific subject and being very positive, and he interjects with a negative, I can tell you he doesn't have good relationships with his friends and family, That's all I need to see. People go, how can you tell? Well, I'll tell you how I can tell. We're having a great, uplifting, positive conversation about something that has nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with social media, and we're trying to elevate the mood. And he immediately cuts in the front of the line, brings up something completely different in an adversarial, kind of confrontational, passive-aggressive way. Well, I guarantee you that's how he interacts with his friends. He's the guy, I'm the smartest guy in the room. Why don't people like it? Why don't people see my brilliance and genius, right? Because he's a buffoon, because he's socially unaware. So that person, I would say, 2019, work on your family and friends. Read How to Win Friends and Influence People. Your social skills are not good. You need to up your game there. And I can just, boom, one thing. I can just read a sentence and I can tell a person their whole life story because, well, one is I've done this for so long, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 hours. But another is just an insight that I've always had even as a kid. Even when I was a child, people would say, it's like talking to an old person or talking to an adult. I was a little kid, grade school. Teachers would be like, it's like talking to an adult here. When as a kid, like I didn't play games as a kid. Most people, maybe you've been similar, but I remember I was out as a kid and, friends of mine, they had like race cars, hot rods, and they were like driving them around like in dirt trails and stuff outside. And I picked up a car and I would like try to play. I would try to understand people. This was so much of I would try to understand like, okay, I have they were Matchbox cars. If you're my age or my generation, you know what a Matchbox car is. Little metal cars, plastic wheels, the wheels would spin and they would, drive the cars around, make the noises and everything. And I would try, I'd be like, okay, moving the cars around, just, okay, what is this? I like some He-Man figures. So I would take, to me, it was just plastic clashing. Like, okay, I'm having a plastic He-Man character hit another character and it was just plastic colliding. And by the way, I'm not saying that's good. I'm just telling you that was how I've always been, an old soul. I would say that I had to rediscover childlike wonder. And that if you had that kind of imagination as a kid, good for you. This is not me saying I'm better than you. Probably the opposite. I had to learn to discover kind of a childlike wonder for the world that I never really had. But it just didn't work. So I was always like an old soul. And I could always sense, I could look at a person and I could tell that a person was depressed. I could say, oh, those people are dating. I could just look. And so some people have hung out with me have noticed where I was like, here's what's going to happen next. Watch what's going to happen. People go, how can you tell? Well, the way that I view the world, this is before I learned it consciously, is the way I see the world is at a different frame set. So sometimes when I'm out walking, I'll see the world like stop. Have you ever seen one of those lens camera things where you see a hummingbird and their wings spin so fast that you can't see them and then it'll pause for a second? So there's times that I walk around and I'll see people move and it'll like skip frame. It'll like jump a frame. And when I look at people and their faces, I can see facial, they're called micro gestures. David Ball has a lot of this stuff. Also read David Ball, Davidball. He's a plaintiff's lawyer. The Reptile Brain by David Ball. And also it's called Reading the Face, right? Reading Faces. There's a book here. I'll give you another book recommendation. It's called Reading Faces by, you can read a face like a book. I think that's not the right one. Here, I'm going to find the right one for you. But you can read books on how to read faces. I think the guy's name was Paul something or other. But you can find there's micro gestures. And in my own, I could just see people unmasking the face. This is what you want. By Paul Ekman. It's Unmasking the Face, a guide to recognizing emotions from facial expressions. So me, just however my, cornea, retina processes light and feelings, I could see micro gestures in people. So I could see people wince in a way that other people wouldn't, just the slightest little thing. And I still can to this day. So that energy read too applies kind of online. And so I had an old soul. That's why I can tell people right away, okay, this is the area in your life that you need to work on, that you need to improve. The three F's, right? Family and friends, finances, fitness. And people go, well, what about career? What about, well, career is related to finances, right? And that's another thing that I can tell people if their lives are not good is they always want to like try to jump over the rule, like you're owning me or something. Well, Cernovich says there's a three F's, but actually this other thing doesn't fall into this category. It's like, okay, I can tell you right away that your family and friends are a problem because you're always trying to like outsmart someone because maybe your ego is a real problem and you feel like you're just proving somebody wrong and that's how you go through life. Oh, I'll show you. You claim this, but here's 3 exceptions you never thought of. Well, first of all, I haven't thought of them. So in your own mind, in your own ego, you think that you know more than I know, even though I've done this my whole life. Like when people tell me how to run my social media, give me advice on that, right? Unbelievable. But I can tell, okay, that's not a random thing. That's how you engage with the world. You engage with friends and family like that. You're the person you always think you're going to outsmart everybody else in there. And people just don't really like you. They don't want you around. Friends and family, right? You get that a lot on the internet. I'm like, I can tell by when people message me, I'm like, girls don't reply to your texts, right? And that hits a nerve every time. Oh, I don't care about. Yeah, sure you do, bro. We all, unless you are into men, which is fine with me. But I can just tell though people don't return your texts because you're engaging with the world in a very toxic, hostile, nasty, mean-spirited way. One based on scarcity and not abundance. So I can just tell them. I had a guy message me on Facebook a bunch of mean stuff, and I said, yeah, I had like 10 messages, and I go, I guarantee you girls aren't texting you back. He goes, well, how would I know if they were? I'm on vacation. Oh, okay, but you're texting me on Facebook, but you wouldn't know if you're not getting texts back, right? You're left unread, bro. And that's a learning experience for everyone else is just improve on that. So I have a million different ways. I have a million different ways, tells that they're called in this kind of game on life. And some are conscious. And again, some are unconscious. Some are unconscious. Hold on. I'll read your comment. Somebody goes, did his wife leave him? He looks a mess. You wish, Mark. I'm better looking than you. And I've been sick laying in bed. Imagine being you. Imagine being you. Hold on, let's see what you have to say, Periscope. He's right on with this. Definitely. Would I ever dye my hair? I used to, but Shauna likes it with a little salt and pepper. So I would definitely, if I don't know, would I though if I weren't with her? Seems like girls are into gray hair anyway. The world has kind of changed where women like older men. It's I don't know what to tell younger guys. Sorry for you, but that's like the trend. And so I don't know if I would, even if I weren't with my wife. Let's see here. We have a few trolls showing up. I hope the troll isn't the stalker who has been under no contact order because those subpoenas for your ISP numbers, bro, and all those fake sock puppet accounts you got. You're gonna learn a lot about. You're gonna learn a lot about things. That's for sure. You're gonna learn a lot about how this stuff works. People like the salt and pepper hair. Yeah, they definitely man bun. I will have a man bun before it's all over. Does AOC have more persuasion than Trump? No, but she is. She's 29. So the fact that people would ask about that is sort of feeling. Oh, by the way, commercial break. Oh, thanks Zoran for the super chat. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, like and share this video. And if you're on Periscope, tap the screen a few times. And we'll get, this Sunday. Yeah, I have a bunch of paperwork to do and updating and all that stuff. Somebody asked me if I finally converted to Islam. I've not converted to Islam, but I do think a lot of people are Islamophobic. And I think that's a problem. I think some of you people come off as really unstable when you can't even talk about Islam. So yeah, I think a lot of you are absolutely unstable when Islam comes up. But no, I have not converted to Islam. Yes, I came back from the wilderness. Exactly. First time, yeah, I came back with the beard. I might grow it out. You just arbitrary, I might grow it out. I might shave it. Cernovich is scum. Just kidding. Love you. Welcome back. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy. Is being empathetic correlated with conscientiousness? Good question. I don't know. So conscientiousness is one of the big 5 personality traits. Remember the big 5? Ocean, openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, also introversion. A, agreeableness, and N, neuroticism. One of the big 5s. And that's a theory of social psychology, is that you fall somewhere on the ocean scale. So for me, for example, I'm like 99% into openness. My conscientiousness, which is attention to detail, etc., is actually quite low. Extroversion, I'm sort of in the middle. Agreeableness, I'm actually less disagreeable than you might expect. And then neurotic, I'm not particularly neurotic. Neurotic is someone that are always worried about every little thing. So the question is, are empathetic people naturally more conscientious? I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe it's been answered by the research. I actually don't know. Don't know. Let me give me some more comments. What do I think of AOC? She reminds me of Gracie Allen when she ran for the president in 19. Oh, I think AOC is major league. I think she's the most interesting person to watch. She's already created a tax plan. You might not like it, but she set the table. Everyone now is talking about her 70% tax rate. So you might not like her, but she is, she's memed herself into worldwide relevance. The media has been complacent. They're giving her all that good press, pretending that Anonymous Q 1776 is Republicans shaming her for dancing. So she has a willing lapdog media that's going to boost everything she does. They're going to attack anybody who attacks her. They're going to ignore that a lot of her fans are actually really bad people. Some of her fans have threatened to kill Steve Scalise. So in fact, I think some of her fans are going to be arrested either this week or next for death threats to Congressman Scalise. But the media will say, oh, you can't be responsible for your followers, right? But if you're conservative and your followers say a bad word, oh, this is the kind of person who follows Trump. Can you believe it? So she's got it. She's got it all. I'm not really interested in Jordan Peterson hate. Jordan Peterson canceled his Patreon. So he put his money where his mouth is. He put his money where his mouth is. So I have nothing bad to say about the guy. A lot of people don't like him. There's books calling him a charlatan. There's a new book just criticizing him, and that's fine. People can have their own views on Jordan Peterson. I don't really care. But the Jordan Peterson sort of hate squad isn't really my thing. Isn't really my thing. 70% tax plan. No one talking about new Green New Deal, where the proceeds supposed to go. Well, sure, but they're talking about a tax plan. That is for sure. That is for sure. We have Nicole here. She uses, she's what I call the fake hot girl account. So she uses a hot girl pic. You can always run it through 10i.com. So if you ever have an unusually attractive female follower, you can go to tineye.com and then upload their AVI and upload their pics, and you can find out where they've been before. I have people try to catfish me all the time. There's another one on Instagram, Lauren something or other. She sent me just an overtly sexual DM, and I knew right away, well, this isn't how attractive women flirt. This isn't how it would go. And then I run it through 10i, and of course, you can find pictures from 2015. So there's a lot of that going on. Some of it is because they're just creepy men who they fetishize role-playing as an attractive woman. And then there are other people more nefarious trying to like catfish me or whatever, which is so dumb. So dumb, because it's easy to spot. It's not particularly hard to find the catfishers. We'll take a few more questions. When is our hoax movie officially coming out? As soon as the insurance company lets us. I wish I had a better answer, but we have to have insurance. And we got tentatively approved by the underwriter. So once we have a policy, then it'll be released. Not much more I can tell you. Definitely not much more that I can tell you other than I wanted it out in September. And if it weren't such a good, wasn't going to be such a big hit, I probably just would have released it in September. And, because there's nothing you can sue me over for, but when you deal with distributors and theatrical releases, you have to have this magic piece of paper. You have to have this magic piece of paper. All right, let me see what's going on. Facebook, be sure to like and give me an emoji. How do you feel, Facebook? Are you happy to see me? Mandy, I was just thinking I haven't seen you in a while. It's true, I haven't been in a while. Insurance or movie? Yes, it's called an errors and omissions insurance. How do you feel that you've seen me? Do you feel love, anger, thumbs up, thumbs down? If you're on YouTube, press 1 if it's your first Cernovich live stream. Press 2 if you've been here before. Press 1 if it's your first time. Press 2 if you've been here before. The same thing too on Periscope. Press 1 if you've been here before. Press 2. No, press 1 if it's your first time. Press 2 if you haven't. Why so much hate for the IDW? When have I ever hated on the IDW? I think a lot of you're debating not me, but a holographic image that you made me. Did I get the flu? No, I did not get the flu. I got just a really bad head cold. Really bad head cold. And then, of course, it would be, yeah, Paris. Yeah. So we're great. Yeah, the tech's good. So yeah, tech's good. Bolsonaro, he's going to do way more than Trump. Yeah, Bolsonaro is the man Trump pretended to be. So whatever that means, you can infer what that means. But Bolsonaro is going to do what he said he was going to do. And he wasn't pretending. It wasn't a game. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't something he said to pander to a certain crowd. He said he was going to do it. That said, Trump is at his best when he's being hit. And he's being hit hard now by the Democrats. So Trump doesn't really have a choice. He has to, if he loses the base, he's got nothing left. So he has to do what he promised to do to the base. I don't even want to say what the base wants. Yeah. Oh yeah, you love, thank you. This is a hoax here. This is the movie poster. Pretty sharp. I would say, if I do say so myself, but Shauna designs everything. She is, wow, this is such a sick poster though. No, it really is like next level thing. That's the thing with hoaxed is, this is, I mean, that's, the poster is legit, dude. If you've seen it in real life too, you can even see the little colorings if you pay close attention to it, where it like kind of prints fully, but not. That's part of the artwork. It is legit. I'm gonna get those sent out to the backers and everything soon too. I got to get those printed out and whatnot. So, but yeah, hoax is legit, dude. I don't want to say this sounds fatalistic to say that I'm going to die happy, but I've written a legacy book and I've got a legacy movie. Gorilla Mindset was my legacy book. Hoax is my legacy movie. If I never do anything else great the rest of my life, like I can say I've done something. And again, I'm not being fatalistic. I'm not, the Clintons haven't got to me. I'm just saying, like, in a way, that's why I'm a little emo lately, is I've done what I said I was going to do. I made John Conyers resign. James Gunn and Guardians of the Galaxy was just like another thing. It was like randomly done. I wasn't even trying to do that. A great book, Gorilla Mindset. Audacity is going to be out soon. Hoax. It's like, I feel like I did it, and what I wanted to do, I've done. And now I have to figure out what I'm going to do next in 2019. And that's why I'm going to, I was going to start drawing a year ago and then got busy doing other stuff, because tapping into a new skill unleashes creativity in your own mind and introspection and whatnot. So art is very introspective. So I'm going to start in a very disciplined way sketching. And then as I sketch, that'll reveal myself to myself, and also help me become more creative and more powerful, essentially stronger. Gorilla Mindset is a classic. I'll never, I did it with that book. Whatever happened with that book, I don't know. The magic that made it happen, I don't really fully understand it. But when I look back on that, I'm just nothing but proud of that book. And now with Hoax, even though the directors did it, I feel like, all right, man, I've done it. I've done it. Now I gotta do something else. Definitely gotta do something else. But what's next? I don't know. Brazil's interesting. So if you're keeping track at home, there's an alliance between Brazil, Israel, Hungary, and 40% of America. So the alpha males are basically on one team. Brazil, Israel, 40% of America, right? And Hungary. That's a trend. That is definitely a trend. What that means or where things are going to go from there, that's a different conversation to be had. But that's a trend. That is most emphatically a trend. And that is why I tell the left they really need to like they went after Sargon. They're overstepping. Because that's what happens. If you have 5 people and you say your job is to ban the bad actors, there's not that many bad actors online. 15, 20, at least that are public figures or whatever. But you want to keep your job. There's 5 of you. You're making, 110 grand a year. You got full bennies, 401k and stock options. Maybe you're pre-IPO. So you got to just really start looking for more and more and more people. And then you get Sargon and you're not thinking strategically and realizing, oh no, this is bad because that's going to trigger a cascade, right? And then of course, Sam Harris and then Jordan Peterson, Dave Rubin. Now people can say, well, that's just a small part of their business. I know the economics of it. When you're trying to scale like Patreon is, you can't afford to use losers. That's going to go in their next pitch deck the next time they want to get investors. This is why, so many people in the media, they've never had to raise money. You're trying to raise money and you're like, oh yeah, we just lost 10,000 users on our, they might've lost 20,000. Oh, well, how are you going to growth? To get money in Silicon Valley, nobody cares that you're not a nonprofit. If Patreon wants to be a nonprofit, do-gooder corporation, go be a nonprofit. Go run as a nonprofit. In the Valley, they want to know, are you going to scale? How big is this thing going to get? Probably to the exclusion of other things. A lot of people would say that the Valley's far too obsessed with scale, and that leaves founders crushed because not every business can scale. So there's a conversation to be had. Maybe it's wrong that the Valley's focused on scale and all else. And maybe that does take a toll on... There's a whole conversation there. But that's different than what investors are going to look at. They're going to say, okay, we put in 50 million. You're not growing and you're losing users. And now people don't trust you because you might just ban somebody at a whim. Good luck in your next fundraising round. Good luck at your next valuation. But if you're in the media and you write for the New York Times, you've never had actually raised money. You've never been slammed. How are you going to scale? How are you going to scale this? You have no idea. You're like, oh, they're just investors are going to like that they took the high moral. First of all, banning Sargon isn't the high moral road. But, oh yeah, no, investors aren't going to like that they take the high moral road. They can go give money to charity. And there's so much of that now happening. So the issue is you have to wait until you become a monopoly to misuse your abusers. You got to wait till your YouTubes, because who's going to compete with YouTube? That's years away, right? This is also why conservatives are idiots when they say, oh, it's a free market. Once you have monopoly forces at work, you don't have a free market anymore. There is no free market in social media. You could start your own. No. Torba tried starting Gab. By the way, I don't like Torba personally. That's just my own opinion. I don't think he wasn't a good friend to me when I asked a very small favor. I'm not going to get into why of it, but to me, that kind of matters more than, other things. But he ought to be able to run his business. So you clearly just can't go start your own competitor. You can't. They'll choke you off. Subscribestar tried to compete with Patreon. PayPal cut them off. So there is no free market. There are a few monopolistic corporations. So if you're conservative, you're an idiot, because there's not a free market anymore because you have monopolies. And if you're a liberal and you're not a monopoly like Patreon, you're an idiot, because now you're going to have a hard time raising money because you're not trustworthy. You have to con people. This is why it frustrates me to know when conservatives go, well, YouTube's a private company, can do whatever they want. No, they told people for years, we believe in free speech. They lied to people to get people to give them free content, to get all their friends and family and fans watching them on YouTube, to capture that audience. And then they go, LOL, just kidding. We were just lying. Let's bait and switch. It's fraud. So people go, oh, they're private. No, they lied. It's like if I go to a car dealer and I buy a car and they go, okay, you have a warranty, 50,000 miles. My car breaks down 20,000. LOL. After you left the dealership, we changed it to 20,000. You can't do that. That's fraud. That's fraud. But every conservative idiot is saying that tech companies can retroactively change the terms and conditions. No. The terms and conditions that got you onto the platform is what binds. And they all said free speech. We support free speech. Don't worry about it. Unless you're doing death threats, doxing, you're fine. You're good to go. That's fraud. So no, it isn't their private. You can't commit fraud. Imagine that, right? Seriously, imagine you go buy a car and you buy the extended warranty and try to use it. They go, oh no, we changed that. We decided you were driving. We didn't want to give you the 50,000 mile warranty. We changed it to 30,000 miles and you're at 32,000 miles. Sorry for you. We're a private company. We can do whatever we want. That's how shallow and superficial your conservative thought leaders come off to me. They haven't even thought through the issues. They don't even have good counter arguments for that. Why should terms of service be applied retroactively? Answer that, conservative intellectuals. Conservatives aren't even smart enough to ask those questions. Why should terms of service be applied retroactively? So if they get you on their platform based on certain promises, they have to abide by those promises, at least as to you. If you come around later, then whatever terms of service you get caught up on are what apply to you. So it's fraud. It's fraud. It's buffoons. Private companies can do whatever they want. Absolute total buffoons. Just the way it is. Just the way it is. Just the way it is. Somebody says, still don't understand why you don't routinely get a huge high number of downloads. Oh, no. My stats are rigged. And I can tell you how I know my stats are rigged. You want to know how my stats are rigged? This is very unscientific. But I can tell you why. I get stopped every day. People are like, I watch your videos. Like, okay, if there were only 250 people watching me live, I would not be getting stopped in every town, in every city I visit. People just coincidentally, I was in Boise, Idaho, got stopped twice. Literally stopped twice. Boise, Idaho, and it was at night. I wasn't even recognizable trying to be recognized. I was, right? Just like that. Once I was walking to a piece, within 2 blocks, I got recognized twice. So if I were only, how are you going to get stopped twice in 2 blocks, Boise, Idaho, at night, when I was just laying low, eating in a pizza parlor, if there's only X hundreds of people doing it? The stats are rigged. And that's a psyop to demoralize me. So it's like, it's just silly. It's just definitely silly. Ali's last scope completely changed my position on libertarianism, basically. I'll watch that Periscope. I haven't seen that yet. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. Mike, can a team that plays by the rules ever win against a team that is not playing by the rules? No. Game theory, model it out. Team A always passes the ball to Team A. Team B passes the ball to Team B 9 out of 10 times. 1 out of 10 times they pass the ball to Team A. Model that out in a computer. There's not a game theorist in the world who, if you ask that question to, wouldn't immediately say, no, you can just mathematically prove who wins on a long enough timeline. It's tit for tat. This has been done as basic. So Google tit for tat game theory. The conservatives do not follow tit for tat. Conservatives follow, you can beat us up and we'll show people our black eyes and ask them to feel bad for us because we have black eyes. That's why I'm not a conservative. That's why I am not a conservative. Guys, you're commenting, but he does not read comments. I'm replying to comments in real time, so that's actually quite stupid. I got ugly people here. Looks like it came back from a bender. Imagine being this jealous. Because it's funny when they comment on Facebook, you can click over their page and you're like, oh, bro, you need, however bad I look on my worst day, you're not going to look this way on your best day. That is for sure. All right, my friends, if you're on Facebook, give me an emoji, whatever you want to say, like a heart, a smile, or whatever you want to do. And if you are on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you're on, I don't know, Facebook, tap a few times. Have I read Dugan yet? I have. I've read Dugan's book. I think it's called The Fourth Turning. The media actually tried to shame me for reading his book. They were like, oh my God, Cernovich is, I'm like, dude, this is how illiterate the media is. There are all these stories calling Alexander Dugin Putin's Rasputin, Putin's spiritual mentor, Putin's intellectual mentor. And I go, oh, okay, well, if this guy Dugin is influential on Putin, and Putin apparently is somebody we all should be afraid of, then I ought to read the book that is influencing Putin. So I tweet out, I'm reading a book, and then a bunch of people are like, oh my God, the media are like, Cernovich is a Russian propagandist. He's a this, Dugin's a Nazi, Dugin's a this. I'm like, wait a minute. So none of you have read Dugin's book. Isn't that interesting? So how then do you even know that Putin is influenced by Dugin? You haven't even read his book, you buffoons. And that was, again, one of many realizations that most people in the media are barely literate. They don't read books. They don't read the books they review. They don't have any, they just parrot whatever somebody else tells them. Oh, Dugin is Putin's Rasputin. So then you can Google Dugin, Putin, Rasputin. Rasputin, by the way, was a guide to the Tsar, and he was somewhat of a playboy, a spiritual figure. Fascinating character, actually. I've actually read a book about him. Like, that's the difference between me and the media. I actually read books. If somebody said, oh, that person is influential, then I'm like, oh, does that person have a book? Then I'll go ahead and I'll read that person's book. It's just the way my mind works. And that apparently is a rarity in the media. So if you Google Putin, Dugin, Rasputin, you're like, oh, they just all got a talking point, and they're all churning out the same articles, right? They're just churning out the same articles over and over and over again. It really is. Yeah, Rasputin was allegedly very well endowed. I'll give you another example. So there's a book. Let's see if we can get this loaded up. So there's a book here by a intellectual in Canada. I'm trying to find it. So the article is called how do you say J-R? I don't know how to pronounce it. But they're saying, here's this guru, Olavo de Carvalho. Might be the most important voice in Brazilian's incoming government, and he doesn't even live there. And he has a book called The Minimum You Need to Know Not to Be an Idiot. The book is only written in Portuguese, so I was right away, this is the way like my mind works. I read an article, the article's interesting. The article says that this man is influencing world affairs. Then I'm like, okay, how do I find his book? And the answer is that it's only in Portuguese. There's no English translation that I've been able to find yet. So that, I guess, the difference between me and the media is right away, I'm like, oh, there's a book. It's influential. It's influencing the president of Brazil. I would like to read that book. The media then will be like, oh, Cernovich is trying to read this book. Probably fascist. Only fascists read books. That's the difference. Is the level of inquisitiveness, the level of curiosity that I have that most of the fake news media don't need. So it's only in Portuguese. But for me now, I'm trying to learn more about this guy. Who is he? What does he believe? What are his ideas? These are world affairs, and the media, mainstream media, they just don't do that. Why don't you review the book? Why am I the only guy asking who has this book? You would think every journalist in the world would say, where do we get this book? How do we get it translated? It's Portuguese only, but surely if somebody could translate the book from Portuguese to the English, shouldn't be that expensive, or, maybe pool some money together or something, pay somebody a translator or something. But again, that's just how my mind works. It's just different than the fake news media. I'll even give you kind of a weird example. But so there was that video Listomania so Alexandria Cortez, AOC, was dancing. They were doing a mashup to Listomania. And I thought, Listomania, it was by a group called Phoenix. It's actually quite catchy song. And I was this is how my mind works. And by the way, I'm not telling you this to be self-indulgent, just to explain to you how your mind should work. This is the right way for your mind to work. I just right away saw Listomania. I wonder if it's kind of a weird song title. What does that really mean? And then I found out that Listomania was based on a feeling that people would have from Franz Liszt, who was a Hungarian composer and a performer. And when he would perform, the women would go crazy. It was called Listomania. There was actually an term for that. So then I went out and I found another way you can see my mind works is it works fast. People go, oh, you don't read the articles you tweet out. Like, you don't know how fast my mind works, if that's what you think, because it clearly not. But so then I was like, oh, I want to listen to Franz Liszt. I want to find out, what was it about his music? And then I found out his music was quite compelling, quite interesting. I'm sure that if I keep scrolling, and by the way, again, my mind just works. My mind just works fast. It works in a way that a lot of people maybe don't really understand. And a lot of it's just curiosity, connections, right? Just connections. Like, okay, so who's Franz Liszt? I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly, but again, who has time for that? So then I find out, oh, here's who he was. This is his thing. It's quite good, actually. I've been enjoying listening to his music. I've been enjoying his music the past couple of days. So that's the way you want to engage with the world. Is why is that? Where did that come from? Where did that word come from? Where did that concept come from? Oh, this person is influential on Bolsonaro. Okay, well, does that guy got a book, an article? Is there something I can read about him? Because you don't want to read Wikipedia. That's all fake. You want to read if the guy has a book, read his book. You want to read, wow, look at this. The hair just hit perfection. Oh my God. Look at this. It just fell into place right now. This is as close to perfection as you're going to get. Shauna just shared with me a cute story about her daughter. But yeah, my hair just has hit peak. I mean, this is just amazing. Wow. Wow. Sometimes you just have to pause. This is why they hate me. By the way, I'm going to teach you all a selfie trick right now. This right here is a selfie trick. Lighting matters more than anything in a picture. Lighting matters more than anything. So what you do when you take a selfie is you go like this, and then you spin 360 degrees until you get just the right lighting. Every time that's how you take the perfect selfie. Every time you go, okay, no, the lighting, I'm a little washed out there. No, the lighting here's the just right lighting. Every time, do a 360 before you take a selfie. And then you'll never have a bad selfie, or at least you'll always have good lighting. Yeah, it does drive people crazy that I care about how I look. Just jealousy. I mean, look at this. 41-year-old man right here, never had hair implants. Crazy stuff. So that's the trick. If you've never want bad lighting, do a 360 degree until you find just that right lighting, and then you'll be clutch. Thanks for watching. Mike Cernovich, Cerno. Oh, somebody says Mike has legit been to many seminars and had dinner with him. He's shadow banned events are always packed. Yeah, I mean, if you've ever come to one of my things, you're like, oh wow, there's a lot of people here. Yes, it's all the stats about me are all fake. They're all fake. Like, oh wow, good crowd, good turnout. Everybody's always like, good turnout, man. Like, yes. Even so, here's a kind of a funny story about fame. I'll tell you, this will trigger a lot of people. So give me 1 second here, because this is going to trigger a lot of people. So this is a story about how famous I am. This is a true story. Hold on. hold on. Story about how famous I am. I went to a food kiosk. You go in and there's a bunch of, food booths, 5 or 6 booths. Because if you live in Irvine, there's a legendary donut shop. And I wanted the donut because I got fat and other great food. If you follow my Instagram, you've seen it. And as I'm walking, I hear a guy go, "Oh, Mike, hey, how you doing, man?" He was working one of the booths. I go, "Oh, how you doing?" He goes, "Love your stuff." Thanks. Appreciate it. Then I walk over to the bathroom and I'm trying to wash my hands. And you know those soap dispensers? You put your hand on it, they go, and then sometimes there's soap, sometimes there isn't. And so I go over, I'm trying to wash my hands. It's not working. I try the other one, not working. The guy comes over and I go, "Man, I just wish they would have soap pumps, right? If you're washing your hands, I don't need the soap pump. I can touch the soap pump because I'm going to wash my hands afterwards, right? I don't need an electronic soap dispenser." He goes, "Man, I hear you. That's for sure." He paused and then he goes, "You're Mike Cernovich, aren't you?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, and then left. So I know that guy's not a fan, because when they recognize me and they don't like me, they always laugh. They're like, "Do you Mike Cernovich?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they leave. The point of that, though, is I was just in some little food court thing, recognized one after another. What are the odds of that? Right? That's what people who hate me have to reconcile with. What are the odds of just randomly there? One guy's working a booth. "How you doing, man? Love your stuff." Another guy's just randomly in the bathroom. That's how famous I am right now. Now, is that superstardom fame? No, thank God. I'm more famous than I feel comfortable being. So I don't even like being as famous as I am. That said, it does show, though, the message is out there. People know. People are learning. People are waking up. People are learning about the fake news media and how you can't trust it. And when they say laughing at me, well, there's a difference. And the difference is they know, they're wowed, they're awed, but they don't want to admit it. So in their own mind, it's like a defensive thing. It's kind of like when a really attractive woman walks by and a man goes, "Ugh, I bet you she's got bad breath. Ugh, she's probably not nice anyway," right? In his own mind, he's trying to disqualify her rather than admit that, she's out of my league. As honest response to be, "Wow, she's really attractive, totally out of my league." Instead, they're like, "Oh, I bet you," they try to find some kind of flaw, because then in their own mind, by diminishing the person, they feel like they've elevated themselves. That's how they are with me. "Oh, Cernovich, I'm so cool. I'm like him." In their own mind, that's their protective defense mechanism. It's just natural. It's just natural human nature. It's just human nature. It's but it's how it goes. It's how it goes. People are going. What else are they saying? What direction would I like to see the political world going? I don't know. Good question. I don't know. That's complicated because the law of unintended consequences, right? That's the issue, is the law of unintended consequences. You think you want the world to go one way. You think you do. But is that really the right way? I don't know. I do think we're pivoting too far to the left and too far towards socialism, and that's going to take us to a bad place. So I'm more worried. Well, worried maybe isn't the word. I'm more concerned with the direction the left is taking us. But we'll see. All right, my friends. Thanks for watching. Mike Cernovich, CERNOVICH.com. If you're on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, like and hit the emojis. And if you're on Periscope, I'll talk to you soon.